Hey everyone, before we start the show, I have a couple of important announcements. First, we only have 2 more episodes of Season 2. So after next week, Season 2 will be complete, and we will be back with a Season 3 very soon. We'll let you know when to look for that. In the meantime, hopefully you've already subscribed to Personal Records. That is my new podcast where I talk with friends about music and about their favorite albums. So that is out. I've got 2 episodes of Personal Records out. You can search for it and find it anywhere. Another exciting announcement is Steve has a podcast that he will be releasing called Animals That Suck. So you can use your imagination about what that will be like. More information to come about Animals That Suck. And last but not least, our first podcast from a non-Scott or Steve will be True Facts with Robert Banquette. Robert is out of Montgomery, Alabama, and we are excited to have him on board. So look for True Facts with Robert Banquette sometime, hopefully before the end of the year. More info to come. Now, on with the show.
So I went for the first time yesterday in 15 years to the eye doctor to get just a checkup.
Yeah?
Which, have you done that recently?
I've never been to an eye doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's simple as that. There's no story. I just never been.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe when I was a kid or something.
Yeah.
I like to think I have supervision because I think one time, maybe when I was like in 3rd grade, I had like 20/15 vision. Yeah. So I don't want to go in. I probably need to. But how'd it go for you?
It went pretty well. I haven't been in a while, but I'm just getting old. And that was kind of some of the results I got from the doctor. The feedback was you're old.
You're diagnosed with old.
Yeah, I was. It was actually an official diagnosis. The thing that was difficult for me was I had an eye doctor with absolutely no bedside manner. And I explained to the nurse and I explained to him, I haven't done this in forever. Right. Last time I went, I had like 20/15 vision. Like I had excellent vision. Nice. And I also made sure I noted that, the curse of that is the coordination with my hands is incredible. It's a wasted gift, basically, is what it is.
So he has a bad bedside manner? Like, tell me more about that.
So I know 2 things about eyesight. That if you can see things close up, you're nearsighted. If you can see things far away, you're farsighted. Mm-hmm. So he was explaining to me that my issue was due to my age of my lenses and the hardening of my lenses. Yeah. It's tough for me to see things close.
Okay.
So I said, okay, so I'm farsighted.
That's what I would think too. Is that not right?
That's what I would think. Based on the look he gave me of just complete...
Oh, excuse me, eye doctor. I don't do this every day.
But it was like a look that if someone had told you something really stupid and then, had a bowel movement on the floor at the same time. I mean, it was just this look of just contempt almost. And I'm like, and I'm kind of retracing my verbal steps there. I'm like, no, I didn't say anything about his mom, or I don't think, any odors emitted from my body.
Right. Or like, no one cares about eyesight, doc.
Yeah. And then he recounted again what I had, which I had the nurse translate later, which technically I'm not farsighted. It's just that my nearsightedness doesn't work well. Again, that's another translation. Yeah. That's probably why I'm not an eye doctor. But I somehow am not considered farsighted, much to the disgust of this man.
Yeah. Well, and it's almost like a disappointing in a way because it'd be easier to just say farsighted. But you got me thinking, though, about the whole old thing, getting old. And what's kind of depressing? First of all, I love my age. I love being in my 40s. I truly do. But somebody sent me a link the other day, and it was like a Reddit, and it was this really thoughtful article about the things I would have told myself when I was younger, now that I'm like 42 or whatever, that I wish I would have known. And I read it, and it was like all stuff I hadn't done. It's like, oh, and now it's too late. I can't go. It was like, never let yourself get out of shape and by the time you're 40, it's too late. And I'm like, well, he's kind of right, but like, I don't want to be reading this. This is so depressing.
Yeah.
So
I'm just glad I don't think the words thoughtful and Reddit have ever been put
I
together.
know. And it was
sentence.
funny because, and I'm not a Reddit guy, but it was, so a lot of people were commenting saying, thank you for what do they say? Thank you for the genuine post, because mostly it's just, I don't know, lonely people going for laughs, or I don't know. Yeah. I don't really do Reddit.
So the other fun thing I combined my eye doctor trip with was losing my sunglasses, and then also having a swim meet to go attend that night. So basically, I had my eyes dilated,
right,
and then had to go out into the world. And I don't know if I highly recommend you get your eyes dilated sometime just to experience absorbing.
I am a married man. No.
Absorb every bit of light that is out there will enter your eyeballs.
That sounds real bad. Like I'm pretty light sensitive anyway. Yeah. I do not want to do that.
So I left the eye doctor with the paper sunglasses that they give you.
Nice.
So that was a good look for me.
I don't know what those are because I've literally never been to the eye doctor. So I told someone that recently and they were absolutely mortified. Yeah. But it was somebody that's like had glasses since they were 10.
It was probably on that Reddit list too. If you should have gone to the eye doctor by now. Or
if nothing else, go to the eye doctor.
I got to go. So I went from there to Target so I could be subjected to every possible artificial light. And I thought I was doing a good job of kind of like easing into a squint until I walked by like the window coming in, and I essentially had my eyes totally shut. I'm surprised I didn't get assaulted by the security team for being intoxicated because I.
So were you wearing the paper sunglasses, or you took them off?
I took them off at that point because I didn't want to code red. I figured would go out, but I found some sunglasses at Target and then mauled them open like immediately as soon as I had paid for it.
Well, that's the benefit of you're committed to not moving to expensive sunglasses, right? You still keep the
just because
budget sunglasses, which is good because I've told you previously, don't ever go to the expensive sunglasses unless you're ready to, commit to that for the rest of your life. Because once you go to them, I did of course lose my nice sunglasses and tried to go, okay, well that's it. I'm not blowing money on that anymore. I'm going to go get some like $12 sunglasses and, put them on and like immediately just threw them off in disgust because they're uncomfortable. And it's like I used to be able to deal with it, but now that I've experienced a nice Ray-Ban, I'm like, can't go back. So, again, it's like if you're okay with those, stick with them. So
it's like, if you're used to Hydrox, don't live to worry.
Exactly right, and don't go to
save that $1.50.
That's right. Save that, and also stick to your Quaker Toastables, which I don't think exist anymore. So So anyway, welcome to Origin of Speakses. My name is Scott. I'm here with my friend Steve, and we are going to talk about some idioms tonight.
Yep.
And Steve, why don't you take it away?
So the first one we're going to talk about is Davy Jones Locker, and planting a seed for later. There will be a theme that I think will be kind of obvious here shortly.
Sweet.
So the phrase Davy Jones Locker is something I'm very familiar with. I think it was prominently featured in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie as the big antagonist, but it's not something I refer to. I can't think of any situation where I've referred to someone ending up in Davy Jones Locker. So I guess my first question to you would be, is this something you've heard of? Is it something you've ever used? Do you see any circumstance to use it?
I don't really use it. I haven't found a reason to use it, like you said, but I am curious about it. It's one I've heard. I feel like it's written into like scripted TV shows back that we used to watch in the 80s.
That's a great comment. I noticed that doing some research on this, it showed up in pop culture for a long time.
Right.
And then kind of took a break. And then Johnny Depp brought it back with the Pirates movies.
So like you said, I heard it a lot as a kid. I never watched the Pirates of the Caribbean movie either.
I think I watched one of them. They're not bad, but you kind of know what you're getting into. And
it was weird because, not to go too off on a tangent on those movies at all, especially since I didn't see them, Johnny Depp to me always made like real interesting movies. Like I was, in whatever he was like, it was him, Brad Pitt was that way for a while. There are a lot of actors that were just making interesting choices with their movies. And then I feel like he got into this and that sort of took over his career kind of.
Something.
In a bad way. But I think he really likes that character. Maybe he's great at it, and it's the what he was meant to do. It just kind of disappointed me because I feel like he kind of went off the deep end.
I think Nicolas Cage did sort of the same thing. I think maybe there's a monetary amount that you hit that you just kind of decide the rules don't apply to you anymore, and you can do whatever you want, which I think is a lot. Earlier in my life I would have been judgmental of that, but now I realize. Well, now that it's very feasible, and for a much lower amount, probably for me to totally abandon humanity.
If somebody said, "All right, guys, Origin of Speakses, man, we want to buy you out, and you can do something a little more less true to yourself." But no, it reminded me though. You're the one that turned me on to that, or you told me about that Johnny Depp article from Rolling Stone about a year or so ago. Yeah. And he just to like maintain his spending, his wine spending, or just all together. That was, I've been chasing the dragon of that article since I read it because it was such a riveting article. If you haven't read it, I don't remember who wrote it, but it was in a Rolling Stone.
I've seen NBA first round draft picks read that article and are offended by how much money he spent.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. So Davy Jones Locker.
Davy Jones Locker.
So tell me, was there a Davy Jones? Like what's the deal?
So Davy Jones Locker. Start with who Davy Jones was. So to kind of a little bit of a spoiler alert, and this is from our good friend Worldwide Words.
Quinion. Yep.
We don't know. So there's some speculation on that. So this doesn't have a sexy answer, but some very interesting ideas for why that comes out. So not a clear answer, but as we look through and see some of the potential sources of it, some interesting stories. The 1898 Dictionary of Phrase and Fable connects Davy Jones to the West Indian term Duppy or Duffy, and also Jones to the biblical Jonah.
So Duffy,
Patrick
Duffy, Step by Step.
Could be. I was going to say Dallas.
Yeah, he was on Dallas first, obviously.
But I'm also...
Step by Step, taking us back to TGIF, not the restaurant, but the night of television.
So Jonah, of course, not having very good luck when he was on a boat with them, being pitched off.
Right.
So I could see that.
So wait, okay, got it. So that does make sense that it would have something to do with Jonah.
Yeah. So from continuing from that dictionary, the quote is, he's gone to Davy Jones Locker, i.e. he's dead. Jones is a corruption of Jonah. The prophet is thrown into the sea. Locker in Seaman's phrase means any receptacle for private stores, and Duffy is a ghost or spirit among the West Indians. So the whole phrase is he's gone to a place of safekeeping where Duffy Jonah was sent to.
So Duffy Jonah,
Davy
Jones.
Could be.
That's cool, yeah.
But probably not. So some other ideas, which I found actually a little bit more interesting, was someone speculated that David came from Saint David, who in some sources I've seen he's been listed as the saint of sailors, but I do not believe that's accurate. Saint David was the saint of whales, not Wales the animal, whales like the Welsh.
The Welsh. The for some reason hated by your friend.
Hated Welsh. By my friend the Welsh, who I don't have a problem with. I researched some other saints who were more related to sailors. So one, Saint Brendan the Navigator.
Cool.
Good name.
Yeah.
Not too much known about him. I saw somewhere where he speculated he tried to find the Garden of Eden. I don't know how that worked out.
Wait, he's a sailor looking out for the Garden of Eden. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Brendan the Navigator is cool. Kind of reminds me of like Fly to the Navigator.
That's a guy I'd like to follow. Which saint we're going to follow? Probably Brendan the Navigator.
Yeah. I mean, if literally your name is Brendan the Navigator, that's a guy you follow. Yeah. I'm with you.
And I'd maybe listen to that band in 1994.
Yeah.
Saint Nicholas, who you might know better as Santa Claus, somehow is tied in with sailors. That guy's doing a lot of work, so we're going to let him go. But one I did find that the saint was very interesting was Saint Erasmus of Formia, also known as Saint Elmo. He is a patron saint of sailors and also abdominal pain.
Why do we need a patron saint for abdominal pain? Well, I guess, so it's like when you're working something out and you're like,
potentially,
dear Lord, I will go to church every Sunday from now on. If you take this pain away, you could be like Saint Elmo.
Well,
get this fire out of my belly.
So instead of getting Jippy Belly or Montezuma's Revenge, this came about because one time he was had hot iron hooks stuck into his intestines by persecutors, and he endured. So I'll give a shout out for St. Elmo on that. So the term St. Elmo's fire is also attributed to St. Elmo. Mm-hmm. So these are the electrical discharges that you'll see in the atmosphere on riggings of ships.
Okay.
So he's known for those things. So again, not Davy Jones.
So we can rule out the Saint David for this. So we don't think it's that.
But I feel like you got to give a shout to anyone who survived having hot iron hooks stuck into their intestines.
So that wasn't a euphemism for gas. Like he literally had.
Yeah. He didn't feel like that.
That sucks.
But
okay, yeah. We got a good shout out to him then.
Yeah. So looking for some references to where the phrase Davy Jones and Davy Jones Locker came from.
Right.
And the phrase goes back at least 2 centuries, and the first clear reference comes from the author Tobias Smollett, who I've never heard of before. I don't think we should pretend.
No.
Who wrote of Davy Jones in his book, The Adventures of Peregrine Pickle, in the year 1751. And here's a quote. The same Davy Jones, according to the mythology of sailors, is the fiend that presides all over the evil spirits of the deep. It is often seen in various shapes, perching among the rigging on the eve of hurricanes. So, not a great phrase, but it gave me a chance to learn a little bit about Tobias Smollett, who George Orwell actually promoted as Scotland's best novelist.
Wow.
So I don't know who he took that title from, but if I saw that on a book jacket,
well, hold on, Ivanhoe guy he was Scottish too, right? So that is taking the title away from someone. I'm not sure of the timing there. I'm bad with history.
So we could see a Sir Walter Raleigh or Sir Walter Scott.
Could have been.
Battle.
It could have been.
So Thomas Smollett, the one thing I will give him credit for is the way that he names his books. So some of his novels include The Adventures of Roderick Random, the aforementioned The Adventures of Peregrine Pickle,
right,
and The Expedition of Humphrey Clinker.
I like that.
And I think what I like about all those is they're not really vulgar, but they kind of sound dirty at the same time. Yeah. And that also always very much appeals to me.
Right. Yeah, I feel like I'm trying to remember. There was another. Yeah, there have been some other ones like that we've talked about that just have a great. You're like, it just sounds bad or naughty, but it's not. So.
And I almost think too, just Davy Jones Locker, maybe because I've heard it. I feel like I've heard that for a long, long time. That's almost kind of mythical.
Well, yeah, but you that phrase that you read from Smollett, was actually pretty cool because you said the evil spirit that inhabits the spirit that inhabits all evil creatures of the deep or something. I mean that sounds like some who's the writer that did like the crazy monsters? He gets used as an adjective all the time for like horror.
Tyler Perry?
Yeah, exactly right. No, Cthulhu guy. You know who I'm talking about.
I know. I can see it's H.L.
Lovecraft. H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah. So for something that reminded me of something like that, just in it sort of giving a name to some evil. Like, is there really evil in the ocean? And if so, does it have a spirit? And if that spirit is Davy Jones, then that's a pretty cool background for the term.
And I think something that we take for granted as people who are not sailors is what it's got to be like, one, to be a sailor, but also to be a sailor 200 years ago.
Oh, my gosh.
Where
you don't know what's out there.
Yeah, you don't know what's out there. And when you die very lonely, you know.
It reminds me of like Master and Commander was an amazing movie, and really just what these guys go through. But also they're, the old maps that say there be monsters here.
Right.
Like, imagine discovering. I mean, we're still discovering things under the ocean that are
messed up looking,
really crazy looking. It's pretty amazing, and you would be it would be totally understandable to want to put a name to that evil. Still don't know exactly where. I mean, so are these the potential ones? So basically, it's either St. David, which we said no, or it's the Duffy Jonah combination, or it's just this guy just called it that, basically.
So
right?
Those are the main ones. There's some other references to an evil pirate or an evil innkeeper, but
doesn't really matter. It's pretty cool. And I mean, again, you won't use it every day, but if you hear it, know what it means.
So this is something that's been used in pop culture for many, many years. As I mentioned, most recently, it's been referenced or I think Davy Jones was like a big villain in the Pirates of the Caribbean
Right.
movies. Other references have come up by Washington Irving, mentioned him in The Adventures of the Black Fisherman. I'm going to ask Salon.com about that one.
Yeah.
Edgar Allan Poe's King Pest.
Hmm.
Herman Melville brings him up in Moby Dick.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Dickens in Bleak House, which, fun fact, was the original title of the Commodore's Brick House.
Bleak House.
Yeah, they're
really.
Lionel Richie,
They were big Dickens fans.
huge Dickens fan.
Got it.
Treasure Island, it comes up, but most importantly, that I think something you might remember, because I know you pretty well, and I remember too, was he is referenced in an episode of the Monkees called Hitting the High Seas, where the character Davy Jones, played by musician Davy Jones, receives special treatment in a ship because he claims to be related to the original.
I do remember that
Davy
episode.
Jones.
Yes, I do. And I'm so glad Davy Jones came up. And I think while I am a pretty big Monkees guy, I also think it's very generous of you that you called him the musician Davy Jones. He was a singer and boy, he would go to town on those maracas as well.
Listen.
And listen, I'm not saying there's no talent that goes with that, but
You give that man a tambourine, and he's going to make it look good.
oh yeah, he's gonna. But I was a Dolan's guy. You know, I mean, I'd say Davey was my number 4 pick if I had to rank if I had to rank the Monkees, and I don't know why I would ever have to, but I'm here to tell you, Davey was down on that list. But
Really?
yeah, Davey was
We'll rank him
kind
out
of
for
annoying
me,
to me. Well, I mean, Mickey was number 1. Then I'd
Yeah.
go Peter, and then I'd go Mike. Michael, as I gotten older, I respect him a little more because he actually was a musician. Like he did some solo stuff that's pretty good, and some of the Monkees songs that he wrote and kind of performed on his own were actually really good. And but Mickey, I mean, he was funny, he was dashing, and just kind of the backbone of the group. I liked his voice better than Davy's. But anyway, I don't mean to talk bad about the Monkees because I do love the Monkees. So
So keeping with our theme for this episode, I am trying to stick with a Monkees theme.
heck yeah.
So the next one, the next idiom we have is rob Peter to pay Paul.
Ah, yes. I have no idea where this one comes from either. But it basically just means, well, you tell me, but I mean, the way I've always thought of that is you pay off one debt by borrowing from somebody else or something else.
You actually bring up something, and I'll throw up maybe this isn't a good tangent. But like when I wrote it down originally, I put borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. And then when I looked it up, the official one is robbing.
In that just when you said that, I went through that process in my head. I thought it was borrow from Peter to pay Paul, but rob from Peter to pay Paul. Okay. So that does put a slightly different twist on it. Same kind of concept of it's not your money that you're paying your debt off with or paying back someone with.
Right. But borrowing from Peter
to
pay Paul has make it sound like that you're at least in control of it. Robbing, you're taking it from something else.
Right.
Kind of puts a little bit more of a nefarious thing with it. So based on some research I did at phrases.org UK, their discussion there says that a text that normally gets credit for it is Peter Halen's Ecclesia Restauranta, which I wonder if that was like the Yelp of the 1660s.
Apparently.
Maybe it was. So in this quote, it discusses how a bishop has poorly managed his area, and the quote says, "From hence first came the significant byword, as said by some, of robbing Peter to pay Paul," in discussing how funds from one thing were taken to pay for something else.
Right.
However, phrases.org.uk says this is not true.
What?
That this 350-year-old text claiming to explain the origins is a smoking gun for some etymologist. And I'm almost reading verbatim, so I'm going to stop doing that.
Yeah.
But apparently there's another one that comes even before the birth of that. It is from the year 1450.
Dang.
It's a quote from Jacob's Well, an English treatise on the cleansing of a man's conscience. Not sure who wrote that.
No.
But it says, to rob Peter and give it to Paul, it were non-alms, but great sin. And it's spelled in that crazy Old English where like they just put they put vowels wherever they feel like it.
And like Y's and E's at the end of everything. Yeah.
However, it might be even earlier than that,
Earlier than 1430 or whatever. Yeah.
around 1450.
No.
Before that, in John Wycliffe's selected English works contains this text. Lord, how schedule God approve that you rob Peter in its gift to rob to Paul in ye name of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And I think whoever wrote that was drinking at the time.
Right.
So there is some doubt on that.
Yeah.
However, an old friend is coming back that might be the first one to actually say this. And it is our good friend, John Haywood.
Oh, yeah.
From a few weeks back.
Yeah.
King of idioms.
Yeah.
Well, I think soon I'm going to have to bring some more John Haywood back. But here he is again. Here he comes again, just like Dolly Parton, there to help us out. And he has a quote which comes back to his book that we discussed before, a dialogue containing the number and effect of all the proverbs in the English tongue.
I remember that, yeah.
Rob Peter and pay Paul, thou sayest I do, but thou robbest and pullst Peter and Paul too. Any kind of rhymes in that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, that's good.
A little bit of a little flavor
Yeah, absolutely.
with that. I think
He's got style, man. Haywood brings it. Yeah.
He sounds like, in a good way, he's been to a TGI Fridays.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm kidding. No one's ever been to a TGI Fridays.
No.
In a good way. It's impossible.
So apparently this was a big enough deal. I mean, it seems somewhat obvious, but
yeah,
it feels like there were a lot of attempts over the years to establish the fact that, like, hey, don't think you're virtuous because you're paying someone or paying off a debt if you didn't come by the money honestly or by the means of payment honestly.
And I think also too something that we maybe take a little bit for granted in a more secularized era is back then, when you start invoking Peter and Paul, St. Peter, St. Paul, you're not bringing the Lord into it, but you're getting pretty close. You're kind of on that gray area of discussing the holy. Yeah. So I think that I could see that as being something that you're not just saying, you're taking from one thing to take the other.
Right.
You're invoking holiness and doing something wrong with that.
Putting a little more gravity to it.
And I'm pretty certain that there wasn't a Monkees episode that dealt with Peter and Paul.
Oh, no.
Not that I remember. Some of those later episodes
that,
where they started writing their own music kind of fade out from memory with me.
Yeah.
But
my favorite Monkees episode was the one, wait a minute, this might have been like every other episode.
Yeah.
Where they were like running, chasing each other in hallways, and they'd like run into one door and then randomly come out another door, and they'd be doing some song. I loved those.
I think that would be
that might have been every episode.
Yeah,
now that I think of it,
pretty sure.
Yeah.
With that,
I like the one where they broke into song also.
Yeah, and I like it when Mickey Dolenz would make a funny face, and he'd act like he was hurt and crying.
He'd cross his eyes.
Yeah.
Well, I remember, and also a recurring theme in those episodes did have to do with Davy being like mistaken for royalty. Like it wasn't just that one. Like I remember other ones where I remember like somehow he ended up with like some harem or something. You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden they're treating him like a king. And honestly, that probably reflected on real life a little bit, because I mean, I think he was sort of the golden boy of the group, and the rest of the guys must not.
I think he had more of a career leading up to that.
Is that right? I don't know that. Yeah,
he was a stage performer. I think he was an Oliver or something like that.
Well, you know what else he did for a living, right? He was a jockey.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember if that was before or after. Probably before, because I don't see once he's a international superstar.
Well, he owned horses. He was actually at he was at Colonial Downs a few years ago as a horse owner.
Okay.
This was before he died, because it would be weird.
Yeah, that would be. He's down in. No, I'm not going to make the Davy Jones Locker joke. But so real quick, more Monkees stuff. You know how you ever have that moment? So Steve, I was telling somebody the other day. Well, somebody was saying to me, like, "Man, y'all just know so much stuff on this podcast." I'm like, "Not really. Like, this is stuff that you could also Google." But they're like, "Yeah, you just kind of have a lot of facts." And I go, "Well, Steve's always talked about how he's got all this useless information in his head, but every once in a while it pays off, right?"
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a situation where you're able to like flex that and you feel real good about it? So I had that a couple weeks ago. I was in a a meeting at work where I was with a bunch of other people from different departments, and we were all like, it was like a cross-functional thing.
Right.
And there were maybe like 40 people, and you get seated with people you don't know. And this guy was like real chatty, this like New England type guy, and he'd come down from somewhere. And he's like, I don't remember what led to it, but he said something like, do you know who created like liquid paper? And I said, actually, I do. It's Mike Nesmith's like mom or parents or something. And he looked at me like, how did you know that? And I was like, yeah, I just know that, you know. And then he goes, okay, well, I got another bit of Monkees trivia. What other profession did Davy Jones have? Other than I was like, jockey. And he's like, and everybody kind of looks at me like, how do you know these things off the top of your head? I'm like, hey, every once in a while, you know, Monkees trivia pays off. Now that didn't lead to anything good for me, but I was
more
proud of myself.
interested if that was that guy's go-to.
Yeah.
If, like when he wouldn't have put somebody in their place,
He was
pull out
crestfallen,
some monkey trivia, and you've just like ruined that.
I did. I mean, I definitely took the wind out of his sails, but I was fine with it.
He's
It was
somewhat.
like, come up with something better, buddy. Give me a third option.
He's on Herman Hermit's Wikipedia page right now, trying to dig
exactly.
out some more information
Right.
on them. So, did you ever see the movie that they made called Head?
Head? Yes, I've seen Head.
I've seen bits and pieces of
Yes.
it, and I don't remember being.
It was on
overly
VH1. They used to play it on VH1 back in the day.
Yeah.
It was like them trying to do Help, I think.
Yeah.
And it was not good from what I recall. I remember being disappointed, but I was also an adult the first time I saw it. And my love of the Monkees stems from it coming on Nick at Night. And, you know, there was a span of time where I just watched it every night. And I was in 7th grade or 6th grade.
It's fun. All the songs are great. I think in a weird way, it's very anachronistic, but also has aged well at the same time.
I agree.
It's very obviously of a time, but it's just a simple comedy and good songs.
Yeah.
You get out there
agree.
with Neil Diamond making songs with you.
Yeah. No, they are good songs. And there is I think there are a lot of people that really like the Monkees. You don't hear about them talked about much. And like a lot of people would not come out and say, like, one of your favorite bands? Like, you'll never hear anybody say the Monkees.
Right.
But what'll happen is a song will come on, or like you might mention it and they'll be, oh my gosh, I love the Monkees. No, I love the Monkees. It's kind of like a little bit of a secret people have. And then once you start talking about it, you like it.
It's almost like something you like that you don't think about that much.
Yeah,
until it comes up. Like hopefully we've spurred some good conversations.
I hope so.
Here.
Yeah.
So not to end on a sad note, but here I go. So I was trying to find other idioms for Mickey and Mike and didn't find too many great ones. So I decided, since Peter Tork and Davy Jones have both passed on, that we will leave it in tribute to them for bringing happiness to everyone's life. Mm-hmm. And hopefully, you know, they're in heaven chasing each other around at a sped up speed with Macho Man Randy Savage.
I think they are. No one cares about eyesight, Doc.
Yeah.